We're back, and there's a reason why the U.S. Congress is suffering from a job approval rating in the single digits. Gridlock in Washington has hit near epidemic levels. Compromise, it's become a dirty word on the hard right to such an extent that trying to do simple things like pass a budget or raise the debt ceiling wind up spiraling into full-throated crises. Partisan warfare on both sides has become the norm, which is why today's story in the Washington Post about two warring congressmen actually working to build a relationship is such a remarkable thing to talk about. And it's a political odd couple if there ever was one. Jason Chaffetz, we know him. He's a Mormon Republican from Utah who has aggressively investigated the White House on issues from Benghazi to the IRS. And also Elijah Cummings, he's the Baptist Democrat from Baltimore, who's actually considered one of the president's top allies in the House Oversight Committee. Chaffetz recently spent a day with Cummings touring his district in Maryland and speaking to his constituents, a place where President Obama dominated with 75% of the vote. As the Washington Post reports, in a Washington fully engulfed in partisan warfare, the Chaffetz-Cummings buddy day, at least a day, was an anomalous throwback to a time when members of Congress of different political parties not only spent time together off the clock, but generally liked one another. Well, U.S. Congressman Elijah Cummings and Jason Chaffetz join us right now. You are smiling, Congressman Cummings. What did I overstate there? Did I overstate this relationship or what?
No, you didn't. Chaffetz and I had a wonderful outing here in Baltimore, and he had an opportunity, Chris, to meet my constituents. And I often say that, I don't worry so much about who I'm fighting against. I worry about what I'm fighting for. And I wanted him to see the people that I fight for every day. And I think, and he'll tell you that it got kind of emotional at times when he had a chance to listen to young fathers who were struggling, trying to be better fathers, and business people and seniors who told us that the only money that they have is what they get from Social Security, and basically begging us not to reduce their Social Security. I mean, for him to get to hear that, to take the time to even do that, I really appreciated it, and I think he got a lot out of it.
Congressman Chaffetz, we've all taken Amtrak and driven by some of the poor neighborhoods of Baltimore where you have the row houses, Now, you went and visited those people. What did you learn?
It's different. I got to tell you, when we sat for an hour with 12 AIDS patients and what they're going through and the heartache that they're going through, the urban center that we visited, that was very different for me, and I'm glad to go there. And I wouldn't have happened if I wasn't invited by Congressman Cummings. So we had talked about Provo and Baltimore probably being polar opposites, and we have a lot in common, but on the other hand, they're dealing with some things there in Maryland that we don't deal with as in great numbers as we do in Utah, and vice versa. We got a lot of issues out here, and he's agreed to come out to Utah, and I'm anxious to show him what we're up against and what our constituents want in Utah.
So are you going to go out there during snow season and go to Sundance and places like that, Congressman?
No. I'm gonna go in the next few months. And whatever he wants me to see, I want to see it. I want to, Chris, I think the Americans are tired of dysfunction and tired of distraction. And they really do want us to work together. And they don't want the norm to be that we don't resolve problems. And so, I think that when you see what somebody comes home to, when I see the folks that Chaffetz comes home to and his constituents and get an understanding of what they feel, and he gets a mind, I think when it comes to compromise, it makes it a little bit easier. And, of course, it makes our relationship a better relationship also.
Where's the area of compromise, Congressman Cummings? Where do you see it that's not being realized? Because if both parties don't agree on something like the need to cut deficit spending and government overall spending because the Democrats are more progressive on spending, they think it helps the economy, Republicans think there's something morally wrong about deficits. It's just that example. How do you find a compromise?
Well, I think for example, we had some young folks who, we have a program here in Baltimore that has taken young people, worked with them, people who may have had difficulties in their lives, and now bringing them back together so that they can pay their child support, so they can get a job, pay their child support. And they came up with innovative strategies by which it was a win-win situation. Right now, those people are being, their driver's license are being taken from them and things of that nature because they don't pay child support. Well, they've come up with a way to make that happen, and I think Jason, as he listened to them, he had to agree with me. It made sense what they were trying to do. In other words, I think there are a lot of things that we are not doing from a very practical standpoint. Jason Chaffetz has been a leader with regard to prison reform and trying to find other ways, instead of just imprisoning everybody, try to find ways to help people be productive. I think things like that. And I think there are a lot more things, too, by the way.
Congressman Chaffetz, your thoughts on compromise. Where can you go that'll work?
Well, look, we're about as conservative of a state. I have one of the most conservative districts in the country. But ultimately, the trick isn't to just continue to throw verbal bombs at each other. I'm pretty good at that. Others are pretty good at it. The real conservative, the real trick is find somebody who can convince Democrats and find that common ground and actually push something to the finish line. Because the best pieces of legislation, they're going to ultimately be bipartisan. That's the only way we're going to achieve something.
And the only stuff that really endures is bipartisan. Let me ask you about Bob Bennett, your senior senator who got knocked up by Mike Lee. I don't know where you stood in that fight, but the bottom line is here's a guy who got in trouble for doing what you're doing in a specific way. Bob Bennett, your former senior senator, was out there, maybe not senior, but he was definitely one of the senators for a long time. He was dealing with Ron Wyden on trying to find a better health care solution than the president's. For that, he was bopped off by Mike Lee. I mean, aren't you worried by doing anything real that you're going to cost you your seat?
No,
Any bipartisan effort?
No, I got elected. I'm going to be here a limited amount of time. I'm elected to get results, and I am not going to just sit back, be a backbencher, and just go along and vote no. Anybody could do that. I want to actually engage with these people and actually come up with some solutions that make sense.
Okay.
With a conservative bent, yes, I'm not going to give up my principles, but we can do this. We have to. That's what they've been doing it for 200 years.
So compromise is not a bad word.
No, as long as you don't compromise your principles.
Congressman, just say the sentence. Compromise is not a bad word.
Compromise is not a bad word.
Okay, now I got you here. Excuse me, Congressman Cummings. I got this guy on the chair here. My question to you, I talk about it all the time lately. I think Mitt Romney, in his head, he looks at these polls that show him beating the president right now. If there were another election, there won't be, that he really wants to run for president again. What do you think? What would you advise him?
I think he actually is going to run for president. He probably doesn't want me to say that. 100 times he says he's not. But Mitt Romney has always accomplished what he set out to do. I think he's proven right on a lot of stuff. I happen to be in the camp that thinks that he's actually going to run, and I think he will be the next president of the United States.
Thank you so much. You're a loyal Utahn, and that's a great thing to say. And now we've made some news tonight. Congressman Cummings, thank you for bringing us Mr. Chaffetz for this purpose. Thank you so much, gentlemen, both for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this.